Praxis cycle is made up of 3 continuous steps: awareness, analysis, and action. For this project, there are 6 outcomes that we plan to meet once we accomplish the steps. As a group, we felt the injustices in agriculture is a topic that needed to be addressed. Let's dive into our experience and show you what we have learned about the injustices in agriculture the past few months.
Where does the food that ends up on our table come from? Who is making the food we put into our mouths, and how are they treated? Will the land being farmed be able to be used for generations to come? Injustice in agriculture is prevalent in all the food we purchase from stores and is a serious issue that cannot be ignored. Many people's human rights are being infringed upon, yet many people are unaware or choose not to think about these injustices. For example, the agriculture industry has the highest percentage of forced labor victims, or in other words, slaves of any industry. The human rights issues involved in agriculture are not always extreme and can be simple problems such as the underpayment of workers or replacement of workers with cheaper and illegal immigrants. The overuse of pesticides and fertilizers cause problems for future generations by creating more resistant strains of pests and making the land less fertile and harder to farm.
So what do we do now? Where do we go from here? How can we not only build awareness, but make an actual change in this injustice? Well, we start here. These injustices happen in our own backyard. Therefore, we must fix ourselves before we can reach those overseas who are in need. After the interviews and action responses, we must use our newfound knowledge to preserve the justice in agriculture. Notice that I said justice, because that's what it is. It isn't a pity action that we give to farmers and those who consume their goods. It's not charity. No, it's justice. Justice for all those suffering because of pesticides and increased prices for quality food. Justice for those farmers who must put their life's work on the line when they have to use pesticide to compete with out-of-state farms. And justice for Earth, who is the most damaged in the process. Mr. Whiting said that when pesticides are used, they linger in the dirt for weeks. Imagine how much damage that does to the soil. Even if it appears to be healed, it still is a damage that could take years or even decades to reach full health. But then again, it can't because pesticides are used again and again and again. We can combat this by supporting our local farmers and participating in food drives, soup kitchens, etc. But not as pity, as someone who wants justice in our agricultural system and our world.
Step 1 of the Praxis cycle is awareness, and in order to fully comprehend our topic, we were able to research to better our understanding of what some of the injustices in agriculture are. Once that research was complete, all of us were asked to write a mission reflection paper about our findings, along with the Catholic social teachings, scripture, and the Holy Cross charisms. We chose verses, themes, and charisms that related to our topic. There are 7 themes, but the 2 that we think fit best into our topic is care for God's creation and the dignity of workers and the right of workers. Both of these themes relate directly to our topic because they discuss how we should respect the earth we live on and how to encourage employers and others to do the correct godly thing and to help protect these rights for so many. 2 of the charisms that fit perfectly are inclusiveness and option for the poor. Both of these charisms allow us to see that everyone in our world deserves equal work rights and demonstrates the way we should act in our local community. Some are less fortunate than others, but that does not give us the right to treat them differently or less of a person than we are. However, according to a recent EPI analysis by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, farm workers, both globally and nationally, have the highest poverty rates out of all occupations. The average salary is less than half of the salary average for most occupations, and these jobs rarely have paid sick days or health benefits. It is not okay for many people to live like this, and by learning, analyzing, and taking action, we are making a difference whether we realize it or not. As a group, we are standing in solidarity and subsidiarity by choosing to fight for these injustices in agriculture, for those affected, and for better outcomes in the future. By coming together in unity, we have the power to make a change and a difference in our community around us.
An additional step of the Praxis cycle is to deeply analyze the issue through multiple sources, and the best way to immerse ourselves was through our 2 interviews. The first interview that we were a part of was with Bill Patterson from Patterson's Fruit Farm in Chesterland, Ohio. During this interview, Bill voiced a perspective that was advocative of all local farms in the area, and it sounded like he genuinely cared about growing all small businesses. He explained that there is no real competition amongst them, and they often tend to help each other and build off of each other, especially here in Northeast Ohio. This was encouraging to learn coming from a business owner himself, because it demonstrated that, like the mindset of most local farms in the area, and to have the idea that they prioritize helping local farming grow over personal gain and competition. Another aspect that Bill emphasized was his sustainability methods. The methods that Patterson's Fruit Farm currently implements is certain plowing techniques to prevent runoff from going into the river, as well as attempting to use as little pesticides as possible. Bill Patterson's biggest goal is to have his family, even generations away, able to use this land. Thus, he takes these necessary sustainability precautions and hopes that his family will have the ability to continue this legacy. The interview that we attended was with Dan Whitting from Sunrise Farm in Burton, Ohio. When talking about the rich history of his farm, it was easy to detect the deep sentimental connection he has to the farmland, which allows us to infer that many other local farmers do as well. Dan focused on the injustice in agriculture of competing agribusinesses. This growth of large commercial farms has caused the number of local farms to drop by millions. As explained in the statistic, in the 1930s, the United States was home to 6.3 million farms, and today there are only approximately 2.2 million, and fewer every day. Dan voiced how he feels threatened by competing agribusinesses. He stated how Walmart, for example, buys their pumpkins from Louisiana, which are much cheaper and bigger because they are more easily grown there. In comparison, even though Sunrise Farms pumpkins are much higher in quality, they are smaller and cost more, which makes it really hard to compete. Dan also voiced why he believes buying local is so important. He explained how buying local reduces one's carbon footprint, since local produce does not take immense fossil fuels to transport. Buying local is also better for the consumer's health. Dan explained how larger companies, such as Aldi's, buy their produce from different countries that do not require extensive inspections, so often consumers don't get the safest produce when they buy from these companies. These 2 interviews made us realize that many of the global agriculture issues being faced today are often rooted in local issues. After creating these connections with these local farmers, we will definitely continue to support them.
The next step of the Praxis cycle is to take action and go out into our local community to fight for the injustices of agriculture. For our action response, most of us went to Ben Franklin Community Gardens located in Old Brooklyn, Cleveland, Ohio. The gardens have been around for more than 4 decades. The city wanted to create a parking lot in place of it, but there were protests that allowed it to stay to benefit the public. So many of the local citizens depend on the crops that if it was to be shut down, they would not be fed. There are over 200 plots where crops are planted and harvested for the community. The goal of the gardens is to provide food for those that live in the area because many of them do not have the money to go to the grocery store. For example, our own school, Gilmore Academy, is associated with the gardens by the Make a Difference Club founded by Madison Wagner. Mad Club plants and harvests in the Hunger Gardens that is strictly for those who need those resources. As a team, along with another Praxis group, we took action and chose to start the harvesting process at the community gardens. I was able to paint tables and wheelbarrows from last year that needed work done. Others were stringing together a protective fence to keep the animals from getting in the garden. Some were spreading mulch, cleaning up flower beds, and collecting materials to be composted. Each of these jobs contributed to the start of the season. We were able to take action and make a difference in our community around us because many people rely on the garden for their daily food. By going in the beginning of the season, we were able to get things rolling for the garden so that everything is all ready and set for the next trip back. Since there's a lot of acreage, there is much to get done. They actually ran out of items for us to do because we work so efficiently. We can continue to bring the awareness and take action of this issue by continuing to go to the gardens with Mad Club each month. We can also continue to buy locally in our community. The action response part of Praxis is not only having us take part in community service, but taking action and standing up for a cause that we think needs to be addressed. There's a larger meaning than just going and volunteering somewhere related to your topic. Young students going into the community has a meaning behind it, and it truly makes an impact.
Our major takeaway from this project was learning about the Praxis cycle and how we could use it to help stop the issues regarding agriculture. It was about how we could stand up and give a voice to the voiceless. We all had to learn about what problems an average farmer would have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Once we researched some problems that they may face, such as sustainability or pesticides, we were able to catch a glimpse of what many go through on a daily basis. After our research, we went into the community to talk with local farm owners, and they helped guide us on what problems they had to deal with. Finally, we had to go out and help make a difference in our own community. We did this by going to the Ben Franklin Community Garden and helped the local owners. Now that we finished our Praxis cycle the first time, we have more work to do. Just because we finished doesn't mean there are no more problems facing agriculture. So what are the next steps? Using what we learned through the project, we could make a difference by doing the little things. We don't have to go out and become farmers. All we have to do is become more aware of the situation. When we go to the local grocery store once a week or so, buy organically grown produce is all it takes to help make a difference. It will also benefit you as well. There are other options that you can do as well. Recognizing the importance of a local garden is a great way of helping to take action in our own community. Small areas like the Ben Franklin Community Gardens are a great way to help take the next step. We can go there and start our own little garden. It doesn't have to be a large attempt to help injustices in agriculture. It's the small actions that all work together to make a big difference.